Your landlord didn't decide your rent. A piece of software in Texas did, and it told 10,000 of your landlord's competitors the exact same number. I know how that sounds, a paranoid even, but it's not a theory. It's the spine of a lawsuit the U.S. Department of Justice filed in 2024, joined by 10 states, accusing one company of running an algorithmic pricing scheme that harms millions of American renters. One company, one piece of software, quietly setting the price in thousands of buildings that are supposed to be competing against each other. The company is real, the software is real, and by the end of this, you'll never look at a rent increase the same way again. Start with something you've felt. You move to a new city, check 3 buildings, different owners, different neighborhoods, no connection to each other, and somehow they're all asking almost the same rent. Then your lease comes up, and the number jumps the same week your friend 2 zip codes away gets the same jump. Different company, same percentage. You assumed it was supply and demand, the invisible hand. That story is exactly what makes this work. Because here's what market is supposed to mean. Rivals who don't talk to each other, who each guess at a price and undercut each other to win your business. That competition is the thing that protects you. Now ask the dangerous question. What if your landlord and the one across the street and 8 more after that all stop guessing and ask the same source what to charge? They never meet. They never call. They never agree to anything out loud. They just type their numbers into the same machine, and the machine tells each of them what to do. That's not a market. That's the trick, and it has a name. The company is called RealPage, a software firm in Texas. Its product sells under names like YieldStar, and what it does is simple. It uses data to suggest rent prices for open apartments, not once a year, daily. In 2022, the newsroom ProPublica cracked this open, and the most damning line came from inside the industry. At a 2021 conference, after rents had shot up by as much as 14.5%, a RealPage executive named Andrew Bowen was asked what role the software played. His answer, "I think it's driving it, quite honestly." He added, "Very few of us would be willing to actually raise rents double digits within a single month by doing it manually." So the software didn't follow the spike. By their own account, it was driving it, getting landlords to do what they admitted they wouldn't have dared do alone. So how does software get nominal competitors to move in lockstep? Here's the engine, and it's the whole case. Landlords feed RealPage their private, non-public numbers, what they're actually charging, their lease terms, the stuff a rival is never supposed to see. By the end of 2020, RealPage told investors its software helped manage nearly 20 million units, close to 1 of every 2 professionally managed apartments in America. The machine digests all of it and hands each landlord back a recommended price, shaped by what their competitors are secretly doing. Normally, sharing your pricing strategy with competitors is the textbook definition of collusion, the kind of thing that puts executives in prison. 2 rivals can't legally sit in a diner and agree to both charge $2,000, but run that same agreement through software, and it stops feeling like a crime. It feels like a neutral tool. Everyone's just following the data. And notice what the software quietly solves. The hardest part of any price-fixing scheme has always been trust. Will the other guy hold the line or undercut me the second I raise? The machine removes that fear. Everyone sees the same recommendation, so everyone knows everyone else is raising too. Nobody has to trust anybody. They just trust the number. A former acting chair of the Federal Trade Commission, Maureen Olhausen, said it best. Just replace the word algorithm with a guy named Bob. Is it okay for Bob to collect confidential pricing from everyone in a market and tell everybody how to price? Obviously not. That's a conspiracy. Laundering it through code doesn't change what it is. Now it goes from clever to chilling because the software doesn't just want rents high. It will tell you to leave apartments empty to get there. On a 2017 earnings call, RealPage described an operator with more than 40,000 units that found it made more money running at about 95% occupancy instead of 98. In plain English, keep some units deliberately vacant, charge everyone else more, come out ahead. One property manager said the beauty of the software is that it pushes you to go places you wouldn't have gone if you weren't using it. It never forces anyone. It just overrides the one instinct between you and a brutal hike, the one that says, "That's too much, I can't ask that." But here's the catch that should scare you more than the software. None of it works unless enough landlords near you obey the number. One holdout breaks the spell. So the real question is how many doors on your street are plugged in. In one Seattle zip code with around 9,000 apartments, ProPublica found the 10 biggest managers controlled 70% of them, and every single one used RealPage. 10 companies, 70% of a market, all pricing off the same brain. That's not 10 competitors. That's one cartel wearing 10 name tags. That's the framework worth remembering. The default cartel. Competitors who never meet, never agree, never speak, yet move in perfect lockstep because they outsource the same decision to the same machine. The collusion isn't in a smoke-filled room. There is no room. It's in the default. And once you see that shape, you start seeing it everywhere. Because rent was never the only place this works. Take a Las Vegas hotel room. Guests sued the big strip operators for quietly handing their room pricing to the same kind of revenue software. Take the meat on your plate. In 2023, the Justice Department sued a data firm called AgriStats for running information exchanges among processors that together sold more than 90% of America's chicken. And RealPage's closest cousin, Yardi, got its own suit alleging landlords used its algorithm the very same way. Same trick, different ceiling, but the courts don't agree yet. The Las Vegas case got thrown out. A federal appeals court ruled in 2025 that just using the same software without a provable agreement isn't a crime. The Yardi case was allowed to move forward. Same shape, opposite rulings. The law is being written in real time, and the machines are years ahead of it. So why not just outlaw it? Because of how our anti-monopoly laws were built and what they were built to catch. Experts call a setup like this hub and spoke. Picture a wheel. The software is the hub, and each landlord is a spoke, connected to the middle, but never to each other. The spokes never have to touch. The old law was written to catch people in a room shaking hands. It struggles with a wheel because there's no handshake to point to. Just a lot of companies quietly agreeing with the same machine. That's why the Justice Department didn't only accuse RealPage of helping landlords coordinate, it accused the company of cornering the market for the software itself. Control the hub, and you don't need the spokes to conspire. You just need them to plug in. And the cost lands on exactly one person, you. Every percentage point that number drifts up is somebody's kid changing schools, somebody choosing between rent and everything else. Multiplied across millions of leases on a nudge from a machine most renters will never know exists. So the law moved. San Francisco went first. In 2024, before the Justice Department even sued, it banned using these tools to set rent from non-public data. Philadelphia followed, then Jersey City, Hoboken, Minneapolis, San Diego. Cities led, and the states and the feds caught up. Now let me give RealPage its fair say, because this story is only worth your trust if it survives the other side's best argument. Their case, RealPage says its software prioritizes a property's own supply and demand over what competitors charge, that it's been used responsibly for 2 decades, and that it uses market data legally. One of their clients, a major apartment CEO, put it bluntly, rents are high because there's too much demand and not enough housing, not because of software. Would you rather, he asked, do your job on a typewriter or a computer? It's a fair question. Better data isn't a crime. But here's where it breaks. The problem was never that landlords used data or computers. It's the kind of data. There's a bright line between studying the public market and pooling your competitors' private numbers into one machine that hands everyone a coordinated answer. One is research. The other is the diner handshake, routed through a server. And no typewriter ever told a landlord to hold an apartment empty to squeeze the people who stayed. That part wasn't efficiency. That was the point. So watch how it ended. In November of 2025, the case settled. No fine, no admission of wrongdoing. So did RealPage win? Look at the terms. The software can no longer use competitors' non-public data in real time. Any data the models learn from has to be at least 12 months old. The modeling can't get more specific than statewide, and a court-appointed monitor watches the company for years. Nobody banned the algorithm. They change what it's allowed to see and how fresh that data can be. They reset its defaults. And that's the whole lesson, bigger than rent. The most powerful position in any system isn't the one giving orders. It's the one quietly setting the option everyone reaches for by reflex. You don't have to control people if you control the default they never think to question. Whoever sets the default owns the outcome. That's why the fix wasn't stop pricing apartments. It was changing what the machine is allowed to see. The regulators finally understood what the company always had. The default was the power the entire time. So the next time prices all move together, your rent, your renewal, the fees on something supposedly competitive, don't just ask who set the price. Ask who set the default. Ask what software is in the building, because the settlement didn't kill this idea. It just aged the data by a year. The machine is still there, it's still recommending, and it's one rule change away from seeing clearly again. They didn't rig the price. They rigged the default and let the price rig itself. If this changed how you see one number on your lease, follow along. There's a whole machinery hiding behind the word market, and we're taking it apart one piece at a time.